All right, guys, let me share the screen. Okay, so we're going to do nutrition and supplements today. I think what I'll do is I'll move this to see. All right, so we talked about vitamins and minerals as a supplement. That obviously is lower risk, especially if you use something that's been manufactured and has been proven to be reliable. It's been on the shelf a long time, I guess is a good way to put it. The ones that we're going to talk about today are ones that we tend to use to perform better. So these aren't necessarily to support protein function or immune function or replenishable store, that kind of stuff. These are the ones that we tend to use to get bigger. So everybody uses them. The pictures here on the right, this is from a company called EAS. They used to have a competition. They might still do. But at one point, they did this competition in the early 2000s where they would give a person $1 million after so many weeks of using their products and working out. And so it was a big deal. Obviously, the little kid here is just kind of silliness. But so we have ergogenic aids and nutrition supplements. They can fall under performance enhancing or dietary. So just understand that we're kind of talking about a variety of different things here. The important thing to remember here is that supplements are market driven. So they're not necessarily regulated by Food and Drug Administration, or do we have any sort of backing by the recommended daily allowance. So it really does come down to what the manufacturer tells us and you as the consumer, what you decide is important for you and the research that you do to make sure that it's safe and doing the thing that you want it to do. With that being said, there's a lot of products out here. So to be up on all of them, to know about all of them is really tough. So what I've done is I put a list together of 10 or so that are fairly popular, and we're going to look at those here in a second. So to get to that point first, just know that when you look at research, make sure that that they're stating a clear hypothesis on it, that the test subjects are relevant to you, so typically human would be good, and that they fit your demographic. So if you're a 18-year-old female, that the age group is you, right? So it's between 15 and 25, females, athletic or non-trained or whatever. Make sure that the group that they studied are you. And if they don't, you have to, you're going to have to do some calculating, if you will, on whether or not that actually applies to you. And in some cases it can. And there's a lot of research out there, so you'll probably find one that fits you. Also look at how many they study. So oftentimes you'll see a low number, which is fine, but there should be other studies that then repeat that study that add to that total number. So make sure that the number is fairly high. They're not just seeing a few people, they're seeing dozens. That would be more important or more valid. Where they're controlling external variables. So if they're looking at a product that's supposed to help you gain strength, are they eliminating everything else that might also help you gain strength? Are all of the participants eating the same amount of calories, protein content, carbohydrate, and are they getting the same workouts in? Are they getting the same amount of sleep? All of those things need to be controlled to see if the product then is being used or is being effective. So then look at whether the techniques are effective as well. So not only are they giving the product at the right time, but that they're also taking into account the right statistical analysis. Are they collecting the correct data at the right time? So all of those things you need to consider when you look through those research papers to make sure that the product that you use is good. Here's the thing, right? This is a lot, right? So how do you know? And unless you become really good at reading research, you don't. So was the trial randomized? Was there a crossover? So was the group split randomly and they selected randomly? And then later on, months later, the group switched? So it wasn't just maybe a bias because one group happened to be stronger than the other. You have to cross over those two. So make sure that the trials were randomized, the assignments were randomized, and that there was a crossover design. So once again, it's really complicated to make sure that these research papers are the right ones. Do other studies confirm the finding? And was the study peer reviewed? So typically, if it's sent to a legitimate journal, then you're going to get 2 or 3 people to read through that study and then send it back to the author, make sure that they make the corrections, and then it's resubmitted before it's even published. And make sure that the other studies confirm it. So there should be other people who are repeating the same study over and over again. Here's the thing. There's a thing called a meta-analysis and something called a systematic review. And you can use a search engine called Google Scholar. It's probably the one that's probably easiest for most of us to get to. There are others, PubMed, there's a couple others, but Google Scholar is free, and it's you just type in Google Scholar on your browser and you'll get it. And it'll bring up a bunch of articles on whatever you put into that search engine. So if you're looking at andro, for example, or pro hormones, it'll give you a list of a bunch of research on those things. Look for something called the DOI number. It's at the end. So you'll see an author, the title, the volume, and the page number it's on. Then you'll see the journal it's in, and at the very, very end of the little information part, it'll see a DOI, and that's an indexing number that stays with that article forever. So if it's got a DOI, typically it's been peer reviewed and it's from a legitimate source. Also look for those meta-analysis and those systematic reviews. Someone has taken all of that information, all those research studies, and combined it into a meta-analysis or a systematic review. So if you see one of those on a certain subject, you tend to have a pretty good paper there. So that's kind of what you need to look for. Okay, so here's the top 10 list. We're looking at supplements and ergogenic aids. Some of them may be familiar to you, others maybe not so much. I'm going to go with the ones that are fairly popular and that have been abused in the past, and so are still out there though. So when you look at the name, so here's andro. Just understand that most of this stuff occurs naturally in your body. And so manufacturers are going to look at that and say, okay, it does this. If we give them more, then maybe there's more of an effect. So if andro naturally produces testosterone in our bodies and assists in making estrogen with a little help from DHEA, then andro may be something that, if we give more to somebody, it'll be better for or increase performance. Here's the thing. When we take anything orally, right, it has to go through our digestive process, through hydrochloric acid, through enzyme reactions. It gets metabolized in the liver. Once it gets into the circulatory system, all of that dilutes it down just a little bit. So anything you're taking orally loses some of its effect just in the digestive process. Obviously, some of this stuff can be taken through an injection, which would get it into the body a lot cleaner. That being said, most of the things that we're going to look at here today, all of them are ingested, so you put it in your mouth. Andro is banned by the IOC, USOC, NCAA, and NFL. If you see that it's banned, it either works and there's a performance component to it that's giving someone an advantage, or more likely it gives a small advantage and that there's a lot of complications or a lot of side effects that aren't good for you. So here, andro is the building block of testosterone and estrogen. It is associated with masculinity, and it occurs naturally in the body. Cholesterol is converted to DHEA, which is then converted to andro, and then andro goes through a process and becomes testosterone. It also becomes other hormones over here listed on the left, but the main one people are interested in is testosterone. And of course, that is going to help with cellular growth and recovery. So here are the claims. The claims are either physical or they're a component of the physicality. So it increases your energy, which is your metabolism, enhances recovery, muscle growth, and then, of course, sexual arousal. And then the increase of sense of well-being comes from feeling good about yourself because you might be getting stronger or whatever from this product. So they did some research on it. Here's just 2 of those studies. And just as an example, right, this is 8. Number 2 here is 8 subjects, so probably not big enough. Number 1 is untrained males. So females, sorry, you're not in this one. It may or may not have an effect on you. Once again, we're talking about testosterone here, but primarily. and it's untrained. So these untrained subjects didn't have any increase in strength and or size. So there wasn't much going on in the first study. Second one, however, they did look at blood tests and they found an uptick in testosterone. If we see an increase in testosterone, that's most likely they're getting a benefit from it. So this is the study that they're using to support market claims. I apologize for not putting the actual study right here. We can get that up for you if you text, email me, find it for you. Okay, so here's side effects of andro. The blue ones are males and pink are females. Black is everybody. So including breast cancer, males can get some of this as well. It's just not as common. But anyway, prostate cancer obviously is just males. But anyway, you can see that there's a lot of side effects that aren't healthy. And because of that, this is banned. So andro, it's still out there. I saw it in GNC just the other couple weeks ago when I was down in Phoenix. We walked by a GNC and I poked my head in just to see if they still sold it, and they do. DHEA is another one. This one's typically stacked with andro. Once again, they call this the female form of andro. If you take it alone, if you stack it with andro, it's supposed to give a better effect. Once again, it's banned. So here's the claims. A lot of the same things you see in andro, increase immune function. These two kind of go together. Disease fighter goes together. If you look at the research, they looked at those things and they found that once again, there was some increase in estrogen and testosterone, but they have a hard time supporting any of the other claims. It's difficult to study this, right? Because it occurs in your body anyway. And so ingesting more has been difficult to track. Although we do know that there are side effects from this, and here they are, including certain types of cancer, and of course, physical changes such as facial hair, acne, and baldness. So this is one of those that's been banned as well because of the side effects. We do a lot of this amino acid business. This is number 3 on the list, and I put it on there because it's just so popular to use. We get this in our normal diet. Here's the thing, right? If you look at this stats, we only need like 1 to 3 grams if you're a weightlifter, and you have to really do that a lot to warrant the need for 1 gram to 3 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram. So we normally get that in our diet. So to supplement these guys may or may not be viable, because you're digesting it, right? You're absorbing it, so you lose a little bit through your digestive tract, and then it's in your system and your body's already using it all that it can, right? So you may just be urinating it out or passing it through. And so it like I've said before, it kind of becomes expensive urine. So those are your branched chain amino acids. You should know 3 of those. I asked you to remember: leucine, isoleucine, and valine. And there are others. And so, like I said, we get them naturally occurring. When we look at the claims, supposed to improve performance, muscle building, and decrease fatigue. We need more prolonged studies for this one, long-term studies on this one. And whether or not it really works, and whether or not you really ought to, and the studies haven't been finite enough, right? They haven't gotten rid of other variables at this point. Of course it works, right? It's an amino acid, we use them, but whether you take it as a supplement or get it in your normal diet, that's really an individual choice. So we need more long-term studies. There's really no toxicity to this other than it may impair water absorption, and you may increase your, because you're breaking down more proteins, you may increase your ammonia concentrations, which is toxic, and it works your kidneys extra hard to get rid of all of that stuff. So not banned, but on the other hand, be a wise consumer with proteins. I know there's a lot of marketing out there and people swear that this makes them bigger, faster, stronger, but eat a normal diet, save some money. Creatine is another one that's out there that tends to be widely used. It works naturally in your body. Understand that when you take creatine, you need to stack it first. So you're going to take, like load it, like carb loading. You're going to take a bunch, and then you taper off and then stay at a steady point. Here's the thing with this, right? It's banned by the NCAA. It's restricted anyway on how amount you can take. And here's why: you can eat normal, you get about 1 gram, and then your liver produces about 1 gram a day. And then in your blood, you have somewhere between 100 and 150 millimoles. Our bodies in normal exercise uses about 120. The rest is flushed out by the kidneys, which can do just a little over 2 grams a day. So whatever you're eating and producing in your liver, you can excrete pretty easily through your kidney, especially because your body's using some of it if you're working out. Here's the thing when you supplement it, right? Now you're eating up to 25 grams. You're not producing anything in your liver now because your liver doesn't need to. So when you get off of that, hopefully your liver kicks back in and starts producing it again, right? Because our body needs it. And then you're producing somewhere between 700 and 1,000, and you're using about 160 millimoles, so only about 40 millimoles more, but your kidney's still only excreting the same amount. So you're really overloading your kidney function. So be careful with creatine. Remember, creatine is the part of it's adenosine triphosphate, and then the phosphocreatine is the end of that, and it actually allows the electron transfer chain to create more ATP in the back end of that process. And so you're getting more potential with ATP, but it's not very much. It just isn't very much. So you're getting a small benefit for a lot of work that your body has to do to metabolize it. So be careful. My personal opinion is not that great either. This is one of those things that you eat, you consume normally, and you produce it normally, and your body only uses so much of it. If you want extra endurance in your lifts, you want more, it won't give you more strength. It just gives you more endurance. It just allows you to lift a little longer because you're producing more ATP. Have a granola bar, or have a Snickers bar, or eat something during your workouts. You're going to provide the fuel and your body will produce the ATP naturally. So, cheaper, and you probably get more bang for the buck. I mean, we should do a comparative study between creatine and just having a snack while you lift. Anyway, there's your research. I just talked about it. There is some issues with congestive heart failure because of the stress on your kidneys and the retention of water. So there are quite a few side effects, and they're not always that great. This is why it's just really not that widely used. More of our recreational athletes use this more than our competitive athletes now because the side effects were just awful, or they're using it in the off season. A little bit quicker here, vandal sulfate. This is a trace mineral. We get it naturally in our foods. We need very, very little of it. The benefits of it are it should help us with our insulin needs and increase our muscle mass because we're able to store more glycogen in our muscles. Once again, more, is it better? I'm not sure. And when we look at the research, they looked at the diabetes and the weight training, and they found that there's a potential toxicity. You have to take so much that it's going to give you diarrhea. You might have a small benefit from the intake of the increase in insulin, so you may get more glycogen stored in your muscle, but you're going to have a green tongue and diarrhea apparently. So you're going to have gas, and muscle cramps. So more isn't necessarily better with vandal sulfate, although I have seen this in gym bags, so keep an eye. Chromium picolinate, once again, essential. It's a trace mineral. It helps metabolize fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. So the idea is that if we take more, we'll metabolize more fat, proteins, carbohydrates. Remember, your primary fuels here are carbohydrates and fats, not proteins. That doesn't change anything. So just keep that in mind. Normal diet, you get plenty of this in your normal diet. So they looked at the claims only if you're not eating a well-balanced diet, and research is showing that you might need to take this. It could also already be in a multivitamin. So we looked at cardiovascular disease, obesity, strength, bone density, all of those things in research. And basically we've come down to the fact that there are side effects, like you're going to pee more of it out. So the idea is you can take more, but you just have more in your urine. There isn't any long-term effects, although some people said headaches and sleep disturbances. So once again, can get it in your normal diet, probably not something you need to supplement. This one is puncture vine, Tribulus teteratris. There's no standard recommendation for this. It's supposed to be a pro-hormone. We'll see. The same claims for the hormone. So if you increase testosterone, increase strength, increase better sex life, things like that. They've looked at it, and there really isn't a lot of research on this for humans, but although animals, we find that it gives them hind leg weaknesses. So we don't know a lot on humans on this one yet. Although it does, it's a trace mineral, so it occurs in us naturally. A supplement of it, we haven't done much studying on it. HMB, it's a metabolite of leucine, which is a branched chain amino acid. Get it in your food, normal food. It's supposed to increase muscle repair. It's supposed to be a stimulant to reduce fat. Supposed to decrease blood cholesterol levels. So they looked at those things, and resistance, endurance. We don't have a lot of long-term studies on this, and we have plenty of animal studies. We found that it's expensive. It's already found in food that there's no adverse effects, and it may or may not help trained athletes. It may help the untrained, but it may not help trained athletes. So not a lot there either, guys. Sorry to say. Ephedrine is an interesting one. This is just a stimulant. This is like caffeine. Different names is malhung in ephedra. Ephedra can be found naturally even in our deserts here in southeast Arizona. It's called Mormon. The plant's called Mormon tea. It's a little tiny spindly cactus, real skinny little twiggy looking thing. It's green. This is banned by the AOC and the NCAA because of the stimulant effect and how it plays on your heart. And people don't know to not take a lot of this, and so you got to be really careful. It's some of the claims that it's supposed to improve your respiratory performance and in so doing increase your athletic performance. It's also known as herbal ecstasy, so because it gives you a little bit of a buzz. They looked at ephedra versus ephedrine, which this is natural occurring, this is synthesized, and there's, they're both stimulants, they both vasodilate, they both get your heart rate going. So the idea here is get into shape, and probably don't rely on this kind of stuff that has some pretty bad side effects. So your side effects are long and listed, so here they are. So be careful anytime you take some sort of stimulant, especially right for exercise. You run the chance of these increased side effects. Fat burners I listed on here. There'll certainly be a question on your test about fat burners. They mostly a stimulant and an appetite suppressant stacked it together, so they put it in the same thing. So manufacturers just go around and look at anything that'll stimulate digestive processes and decrease your appetite, and they put them together. And some of them may be synergistic, some may be antagonistic. We don't know. There are a bunch of these fat burners out there, and just I don't know. I've never taken one, and people have done fine. But here's the thing, right? Once again, if you want to consistently stay at a weight once you've lost it, you probably shouldn't be reliant on something that's a stimulant to keep you there. What really changes the weight is the set point in your hypothalamus, right? So if you do it slow and easy, and you get down to the weight you like, and you've formed really good habits, that set point changes. So your metabolism changes with it, and all those other good things that happen when you control it with the hypothalamus going really slow. So yeah, fat burners should probably work, but the idea is eat a better diet and exercise and do it slow, and you'll have better long-term effects from that. So anyway, those are fat burners. So here we go. When you talk to people about this, make sure that they understand what they're taking. Make sure you understand what you're taking, that is doing the thing that you want it to do, that you're willing to pay those consequences from the side effects that may come from it. So everything has a side effect. Some are beneficial side effects, some can be deterrent, so make sure, or detrimental. So be careful, right? When you talk to people like this in any profession, you can do it just like I did. From the research that I've looked at, probably not the best thing for you to do. I probably would never encourage anybody to take a supplement other than by saying, all right, here's the research. If this is what you think you want from it, then you make the choice. Always put it on them. As a personal trainer, as an athletic trainer, as a PT, a doctor, the doctor is the only one that can actually prescribe it and says, here, take this. And I seriously doubt, unless there's a medical reason, that they would want somebody to do a supplement from some manufacturer that isn't regulated. So The drugs that doctors prescribe are highly regulated. So I would be really careful on recommending anything. I would certainly recommend that people do their research and make their own choice. And you can certainly recommend not to do something if you know that it's dangerous. So this comes through nutrition coaching. Just know what you believe, know what your clients believe. Make sure you have a good foundational knowledge about diets and supplements, and know their sport, right? If they're a power sport and they're trying to take something for endurance, you have to know the difference there. Okay, here are some facts. They tested 634 of these supplements. They found nearly 15% contained enough anabolic steroid to cause a positive test result. So they just took a grouping of 634 and they tested them all on it, and 15% contain an anabolic steroid. Why is that? Well, if it's got an anabolic steroid, it's more likely going to make you better, bigger, faster, stronger, right? Especially if you're, in particular, if you're working out. And if it works, then you're going to tell your friend. So these are usually ones that are outside of the United States. We have some regulation on this, not a lot, but anything outside, like from Mexico, I know it comes through there, and China, they can do whatever they want. And a lot of times it comes in unpackaged as a material, and that then companies here then package that stuff and package it here in the United States. And so they can say, hey, manufactured here in the United States, but the creation of the drug itself or the supplement itself came from somewhere else. So you got to be really, really careful. 1 in 5 contained a prohormone. So that's up there too. So be careful with this stuff. You got to know what you're taking. So if you're getting from somebody, but you don't know where they got it from, right? You're getting it from a company, and they're putting it together at their own place. Be careful. You got to know what it's in. You got to know what's in it. So there is some, you gotta weigh out the risks and choose for yourself. So here are the terms. Make sure that you know these. Text, email me if you have any questions on any of this stuff, and I'll be glad to help you out. All right, guys. One more down. We'll keep working at it.